Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of your favorite YouTube podcast, Garbage Time Takes. As always, my name is Derek. Here with me today are my co-hosts, Dennis
That's right, baby. Here and accounted for.
and the Bob.
Let's run it.
Let's run it indeed, Bob. Before we get started, we had a brief, spirited discussion regarding,
Brief is an interesting term.
yes, maybe a little bit longer than brief, a spirited discussion over the Hall of Fame candidacy of Joey Votto. If you guys haven't already, feel free to check out the Garbage Time Debates episode that Bob and Dennis released earlier today, reacting to Chris Mad Dog Russo's list of current MLB players that are Hall of Famers in his eyes. Feel free to check that video out that Bob and Dennis put out. And in the spirit of that video, as I was not in it, I was asked about the candidacy of Joey Votto, Reds legend, been there, 16 years, Dennis, is making $25 million this year to ride the pine until he returns from injury. If he returns from injury, who knows? Maybe he'll become Grandpa Joe. We'll see. We'll see. But I was asked about his candidacy, and throughout our discussion, I was borderline wishy-washy on the fence. Dennis putting words in my mouth saying that I was insinuating and or outright declaring that Joey Votto was not a Hall of Fame deserving player. And so I told Dennis, I will give you my definitive stance on Joey Votto's Hall of Fame candidacy. And he told me to wait for the pod. So here it is, Dennis. Here it is. Live reaction. My position is this. Joey Votto is a player that I will neither bang the table for to get in the Hall of Fame, nor will I be extremely disappointed or upset if he gets in. I'm firmly in the camp of if Joey Votto gets in, great. If Joey Votto doesn't get in, that's fine too. He is the perfectly borderline Hall of Fame player, was a former MVP, but no Silver Sluggers, six-time All-Star, but no Gold Gloves, very offensive-minded player and a very good one at that. But that's my stance. If you're asking me to say yes or no, does Joey Votto deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? Gun to my head, aliens pointing the death beam at the earth, I will say yes, Joey Votto deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
All right. Wow. That's okay. Now we have Derek's take. Bobby, you wrote all that down, right? We got that in writing, chiseled in stone somewhere. No, I think that's fair, actually. I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on this because I know we have actual events going on and whatnot, but I do think it's kind of funny to mention that I made my position very clear. And if you'd listen to the last video, I think I probably started out with the position that I understand the argument against why Joey Votto should not make the Hall of Fame. Most notably, he walked a lot, and he doesn't have a lot of defensive accolades. A lot of people will also throw out the lack of team success, which I think is absolutely garbage as a metric for whether or not someone should make the Hall of Fame or not. But barring all of that, I agree that he was a borderline Hall of Fame player. The funny thing is that then when someone insinuates that maybe Joey Votto should not make the Hall of Fame, I get very defensive. So apparently I really want him in the Hall of Fame.
I mean,
Whether or not
that's
I
fair,
said
Dennis.
I do
That's
or not.
fair. That's fair.
So I will admit that.
You're a Reds fan through and through. You want to see your guys make the Hall. I have no problem with that. No problem with that. Boys,
All right, there we go. We've done it.
the NFL world is relatively quiet. I don't know if there's been much news that you guys have been picking up on,
Something
but
bad about to happen, man. Something weird about to happen.
yeah, but
It's gone too quiet.
ever since the draft, guys have just been, getting signed. I believe, Dennis, congratulations. The Cincinnati Bengals were the first team to sign their entire draft class, if I remembered reading that right.
I think so.
So congratulations on that. The Lions still lagging behind a little bit. But there's really been no big news. Some rookie mini camps, voluntary off-season work going on right now. The only real big news, Dennis, we'll talk about it a little bit, came up earlier this week. Joe Burrow is going to be cognizant of the team situation when discussing his contract extension. Bob, me and you were hoping that he would try and hold the Bengals hostage for as much money as he could possibly get. But alas, Joe Burrow is the team player we all thought he was, taking
Right.
taking a page out of the ever benevolent, great Hall of Famer Tom Brady, taking a page out of his
Correct.
playbook, saying, I want my money, but team success is more important, and I'm not going to take 30% of the salary cap to the detriment of the team. Dennis, go ahead and have a victory lap.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Despite my clear and obvious excitement and reaction here on the podcast and when I first saw that news, I am not I will believe it when I see it. I will not take a true victory lap until I see the contract. And everything is set in stone, which I'm sure Bobby would love to suggest that perhaps those comments were
Premature.
for public consumption and won't end up being true. But I believe Joe Burrow when he says that he is not going to take up 30% of the salary cap and when he wants to win. And the reason I believe that is because that's been his mindset regarding everything that we've done to this point. And I know it hasn't involved his actual salary, which is why it's easy to, it's easy to have a winning mindset and do all the right things and say all the right things when your salary is not the one being questioned or on the line, and that changes things. I know money changes things, but I'm not surprised overall to hear him say that, because that's just the kind of person that Joe Burrow has always appeared to be. And I hope he follows through with what he said, because I think that would keep a lot of really, really good talent in Cincinnati for a long period of time, and it would give us a very long or a very high chance to win and compete in this league at a high level for years to come.
Bob, your thoughts. The funeral for our dreams of Joe Burrow coming to Detroit are dead, Bob.
Well, let's not put the horse before let's not put the carriage before the horse, Derek, because there's still time. There's still time for malpractice to run afoul here, because number one, like Dennis says, we haven't even seen the contract. We don't even know what has even been offered at this point. But what we do know is Joe Burrow isn't the only person that wants a slice of this pie, Derek. And
Correct.
And I'm not so confident that other guys, and Joe's gonna leave him a piece of the pie. But you know what? When they
There's
come
only
forward,
a finite amount of pie, Bob.
when there's only a finite amount of pie, and some of these other boys might want a big chunk of pie. And
Bob,
yeah, but
are T. Higgins and Jamar Chase going to want large
I
chunks
think
of pie?
I think they better get the Brinks truck for Jamar Chase, because I think there might need to be market setting money on that front. Because I think he's quite frankly worth the market setting money, but a testament to his talent. Joe Burr is so exactly what I would want in a quarterback that it's annoying that I don't have him. And that's where it comes in.
Oh, so the secret comes out all this time. Bobby's been talking regression, preaching regression. The Bengals are gonna fall off a cliff. I don't think they're actually that good. The truth comes out, Derek. It was jealousy. It was jealousy.
It was
The
envy.
whole time.
Derek.
Unbelievable. Folks, can you believe it?
Bob, have you been outed? Has your envy been outed, Bob?
Well, I am envious of Joe Burrow, but I also think, I also did think there was regression. History would have told us that there was going to be regression with the Cincinnati Bengals.
History didn't have Joe Burrow.
No.
History had a man named Marvin Lewis and another man named Andy Dalton.
Well,
let's not be, desecrating Andy Dalton's name.
Thank you.
I mean, the man led you to the playoffs, more times in a span of 4 years than good old Skip Weaver had seen in his lifetime almost.
No, I'm not going to desecrate the name of Andy Dalton. The Red Rifle, I mean, my namesake, all that kind of stuff is great. But, he came in And I loved Andy for the time that he spent in Cincinnati. And not to get too far off topic here, my point being that team and that regime was never going to get us to the next level. And I know that, Detroit sports fans at this point would probably take 4 or 5 playoff appearances in a row. But
We would
at
have,
that
yes.
point, it was, and it was at the beginning, when we got to that first playoff game, their rookie year, AJ Green and Andy's rookie year against Houston, it was very exciting. It was a step in the right direction. But by the 5th one, you were expecting something more, and we just never got it, and it wasn't going to be delivered. That was my take.
How much of that blame does the Cincinnati fan base lay at Marvin Lewis's feet, Dennis?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Do you think
so.
Do you think if Andy Dalton had a coach, say Mike Tomlin, the Bengals may have actually done better?
Yes, I do. I will acknowledge that. As much as I dislike the Pittsburgh Steelers and wish their demise, Mike Tomlin is one of the strongest head coaches of our generation, and would be able to do a lot more than Marvin Lewis ended up doing. Yes.
I just like to continue my thought by saying, while I do really like Joe Burrow and I think he's a really great player, and I
Here
wish
comes the butt.
and I wish he was a Detroit Lions, I was really hoping that you know me, I just wanted to see some drama play out. I wanted to see Joe Burr
No, he wanted to see regression for the Cincinnati Bengals
come
so that
come to
he
the
doesn't have to be
owner and
jealous of Joe Burrow.
say, you're going to have to pay the freight, because the Cincinnati Bengals, if we know anything about the Cincinnati Bengals, is that they've never once in their lives paid the freight.
Penny pinching.
They're pinching pennies. They're dirt cheap. They finally had to sell the rights. Dennis is already telling me they're selling the rights to name the stadium so they can get extra money in the bank account to pay Joe Burrow.
Because Joe Burrow about to get some, not only signing bonus up the waz, he's also going to get all this money, which I didn't know this. When they sold the rights to the stadium, I found out that when you sign it, you actually have to have the money available for the entire contract, even though it only goes against the cap per year. So essentially they have to have enough money to pay Joe Burrow's contract like in advance, even though it's not actually going to him until he plays out his contract. I think something like that, but go ahead.
Which makes sense because salary cap
Which
penalties,
is why they
if you
needed
cut
money.
a guy, you still
That's why
got
they
to pay
need
him.
money. Yes.
So basically, all I'm saying is congratulations to the Cincinnati Bengals. Glad, yeah. Wish things could work out this well for us. I'm envious of the good fortune, Derek. That's what I'm envious of. I'm envious of the entire situation. It's not just Joe Burrow. It's the entire situation, the entire turnaround, the entire 360 with a coach that Derek is crapped on to. Let's not forget that, Dennis.
I still think
So
that
Derek craps on him, and
I still
by all
think
means he's bad.
No, I didn't say that.
I still think the players are driving that ship. I don't think even Marvin Lewis could hamstring that offense. They're so good.
There's a point to be made. There's a point to be made there, but just envious of the entire turnaround. And
here's the thing:
the fact that we have never,
we're right there, Bob. This is the year.
We've never had that kind of talent fall into our lap at quarterback.
I get that, and I don't understand exactly how you guys feel, but I've always felt like you've taken that approach. Derek has taken the approach of they've shown that it's possible, and they've shown that there's a path for this. And sure, some of it's fortune. We got a little lucky, but a lot of it, I truly believe, was strategic and with the right people in the building done correctly to get us to this point. It wasn't just straight luck consistently. And I think that there are finally people in Detroit that could do the same thing. I truly believe that.
What's your defensive coordinator's name, Dennis?
Lou Anarumo, a.k.a. Big Lou.
Big Lou is how the Bengals are so successful. Because, yes, the offense is the offense. The Cincinnati Bengals remind me a lot of the Detroit Lions, actually, Bob. And
oh, my gosh.
Listen, and here's why. Do the Lions have the same star power of fresh young names that the Bengals do? No, they do not. But do they have a top 10, borderline top 5 offense? The numbers would say they do. Last year, did they have a defense that was worst in the league? Yes, they did. Did the Bengals, Dennis, have a defense that was ranked near the bottom of the league? No, they did not.
No, we did not.
No, they did not, Bob. We were a defensive, literally just 6 points per game on average away from being a playoff team. That's it. Our margin of error was literally not giving up 45 points to Philadelphia, not giving up 45 points to Seattle, not blowing the game against Minnesota. We were that close to the playoffs. That close. And you know what all 3 of those games had in common? Garbage, pathetic, poopy stink defense.
Derek.
And not only one last thing, Bob, and then I'll let you go. Not only did we upgrade the coaching staff, as evidenced by our late season turnaround, but in the offseason we've upgraded the players. I see no reason why the Lions can't have the same 3-year turnaround success window that the Bengals had.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, aka Dennis in this case, I want you to think back to this past season with the Detroit Lions.
Okay.
I want you to think back to Derek Rezio. Who's Derek Rezio making comments about last season as the driving force of the downfall of the Detroit Lions? Because I seem to remember. I believe
his name rhymed with Garrett Joff.
Garrett Joff. I do seem to remember.
I think his name rhymed with Balix Banzaloni.
I think we're looking at I think we're. I'm not one to toot my own horn here, but I would like to say that there was a certain somebody that was saying the Detroit Lions defense is 31st in the league, 32nd in the league, not cutting the mustard. And every week when the ball game was on, all we heard from the first throw of the game to the last throw of the game was,
was there accounting? Was there accounting that took place?
There was countings that were taking place because Derek was literally bringing up how bad Jared Goff was for saying that we had a top 5 offense in the lead 17 times, saying that every single pass he threw was garbage, can't do this, can't do that.
I mean, throwing out the soliloquy that was prompted by you. So, that's not even including that one, that whole man.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. And so while I do agree full-heartedly in Derek's assessment of what of the defensive improvements, I would like to point out that I don't think Derek was singing this song quite to this tune, Dennis. And ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Listen,
just a few months.
Hold on.
A few months prior.
Can I have a rebuttal? Can I have a rebuttal?
We're going to hear Derek's rebuttal Bobby has brought up some excellent points. Derek, I would love to hear what you have to say.
Some excellent points.
Here's my rebuttal. What use would it have been to constantly rip on a defense that we all knew sucked and going into the game knew would suck and would basically lose us games because they sucked so much? That was out of our control, was the defense sucking. You know what was in our control? Jared Goff not missing wide open players on 4th down against the Miami Dolphins with a chance to win the game. You know what we can control? Jared Goff not missing wide open receivers on 4th down against the Buffalo Bills with a chance to win the game. You know what we can control? Jared Goff not throwing pick sixes left and right through the first 6 weeks of the season that ultimately resulted in us having a losing margin, even with how sucky the defense was. That is my rebuttal. I'll say this much. I was the opposite of a Jared Goff truther. I really was. I was the opposite of a Jared Goff truther. That game against Green Bay made me more of a believer than I thought I would be in Jared Goff. We are this close to jacking Goff. This close. But I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's the one component of this team where I just don't know. This is a man who's been to the Super Bowl. It's a man who's engineered one of the largest single season to season turnarounds in Lions franchise history. I don't even know if that's true, but it sounds right. And yet, it reminds me very much of the run the 2016 Chicago Cubs had, where it felt like at any moment disaster would strike and the season would be over and we would be the same old insert franchise name here. That is how I feel with Jared Goff still, and I hope he proves me wrong, and I look forward to enjoying this season for what it is. But I will still be very much looking at Jared Goff under a microscope, especially with his contract extension becoming a very real thing this coming offseason.
If I could say a couple things to that, because I think that's an interesting rebuttal and very well done.
Thank you.
Number one, I would like to say that I would like to caution and also just make it known that unfortunately, in my experience, the feeling that everything's going to come crashing down at any moment takes a while to go away. I still have it. And whether it's Jared Goff or Joe Burrow, that doesn't go away that quickly because that's years and years of a team that is
trauma, Dennis. It's trauma.
Burnt you. Yes, correct. It is. It is a form of trauma. And you know, whether it's Jared Goff or Joe Burrow, it's not just going to fly away with ease and with an instant. The other thing is I would like to open this up to the comments, to the jurors for some deliberation. But my initial reaction here is that I have to side with Bobby Epler. He's got the historical facts.
It's a no-brainer.
The tape. He's got the tape. But it was a well
pull the tape. Pull the tape.
I understand that there wasn't much point in talking about how bad the defense was.
And to be fair, I ripped on Alex Anzalone every drive. I ripped on Alex Anzalone all the time. Constantly. Whenever he blew an assignment, I said, oh, there goes Alex Anzalone, costing us another 3 and out.
Well, so Derek's actual rebuttal is what he told us before the pod, which is he likes to complain.
Correct. I do like to complain.
Okay.
I do like to complain.
All right, wow. I don't think you can have arguments against that one.
It sounds
you like got me on that one, Derek.
It sounds like the court ruling has been made. Bobby Epler's case wins. This is the last thing I'll say, and then we can move on. The Cincinnati Bengals went from 2-14 to 4-11 to 10-7 in the Super Bowl. Bob, the Detroit Lions went from what? 3-13-1 to 9-8. Surely we can go at least 10-7. I'm not going to make any claims about Super Bowls, although I may start chugging the blue Kool-Aid once we beat the Kansas City Chiefs week 1 in Arrowhead on Thursday night to kick off the season.
Please do. Please do.
But we'll wait till then. There's no reason why this team can't be a contender and go through the same. I don't know. I just see the Cincinnati Bengals trajectory and the Detroit Lions trajectory being the same all the way back to last year, even when not last year, but the year before when the Bengals were going to the Super Bowl. You could see the building blocks. And we finally had the structure is up, Bob. The structure is there. And we're going to find out this season whether we can put the finishing touches on it or if the foundation will come crumbling down.
I'm with you, Derek. I really wish that we could have a Bengals Lions Super Bowl, not for a number of reasons, but potentially the number one reason I would want that is just so that the rest of America would have to sit through the Lions and the Bengals playing in the Super Bowl and just bask in the fact that, you know what, nobody gave a rat's behind about these two squads, and now they're being forced They're just being shoved right down their windpipes, Derek.
Correct.
That would be the
Correct.
reason.
And you know what, Bob? Here's the funny thing. That would be, in all likelihood, an extremely entertaining Super Bowl. Because like I pointed out, Detroit Lions borderline top 5 offense. Cincinnati Bengals definitely, you can argue, are a top 5 offense. It wouldn't be like the 0-16 Lions going up against the 2-14 Bengals. That's for sure. Dennis has rejoined us.
Yeah, sorry about that. We're back.
Glad to have you back. We were just saying that Bob was saying that he hopes that America would have to sit through a Lions and Bengals Super Bowl just to bask in it. And I made the point that I think that would actually be a very entertaining Super Bowl because it's not like the 0-16 Lions versus the 2-14 Bengals. It would be two actually legitimately elite teams facing off, and wouldn't be some. It wouldn't be like this year's Stanley Cup playoffs where it's a bunch of teams that no one really cares about. At least the Lions and Bengals would have an entertaining Super Bowl.
I think it'd be more than entertaining. I think it would put me at odds with a lot of people. That would be challenging, but from a national point of view, yeah, I think it'd be entertaining, and I think that it would actually be, like you said years ago, people would have, batted an eye at that and not had any desire for that to be the Super Bowl. But here we are, and who knows what's going to happen.
Speaking of the NHL playoffs, we can roll right into that, Dennis. Bob raising his fist because the Las Vegas Golden Knights advanced past the Edmonton Oilers. Dennis,
Tough.
the Florida Panthers took care of business against Toronto. The Carolina Hurricanes took care of business against the New Jersey Devils. Covered those two series last week, actually, because they were done so quickly. The Dallas Stars overcame the Seattle Kraken in what was easily that and the Oilers Knights series were easily the two best series. I would argue the Stars Kraken series was probably the best.
Yes.
And currently, game 1 of the conference finals, the Panthers and the Hurricanes are tied at 2 and have just started overtime number 2. And the Stars and Golden Knights will take the ice tomorrow. Dennis, how do you see the rest of the playoffs shaking out, and what analysis do you have to offer?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some really good series. I think this is probably and we talked about this either last week or the week before, but I think this is trending right in the direction of what I think all of us had sort of agreed in one way or another, which is that the winner of the Golden Knights and the Edmonton Oilers would make the final, and that the winner of the Jersey Devils and the Carolina Hurricanes would make the final. And that's how I feel today. I feel like this is setting up for a Golden Knights Hurricanes final, and I think that'd be a good one. I mean, both of those teams have had really, really good seasons and been strong in this postseason. And I think that they're the two strongest teams left in the field. Don't have too much more detailed analysis, but we're getting down to it here. And, this is not necessarily the final four NHL teams that people expected. Certainly not. But I think we got a couple good matchups.
Yeah, every number 1 seed is down, right?
Yep.
Boston down. Who is number 1 in the West? Was it Edmonton? Or Colorado? I know Colorado
It
were
was
the
Colorado.
defending champs. They were the
I think
defending
it was
champs and the number
Colorado.
1 seed. Yeah. Either way, many of the top seeds down in the NHL playoffs. Bob, I know you probably haven't watched much, but what are your final takes on the NHL playoffs? Because there's a chance the conference finals. Let's see, will they be done by next Thursday?
No, I don't think
They'll
so. I think because they just started
be
tonight.
correct. They'll be through 4 games by next Thursday. So by
Yeah.
this time next Thursday, where do you see the series playing out to?
I'll tell you this much. Golden Knights all the way, and screw the Hurricanes. That's all I got. Or that's what they are, right? The Hurricanes. Yeah,
Correct.
screw them because they took out the Devils, and that was the only other team I cared about. So I hope whoever's play, who is it? Florida that's playing them.
Yeah,
Yes,
Florida.
the
Yep.
Cinderella run Florida Panthers.
I mean, stand up, Florida, stand up because it's time.
Sunrise, Florida, stand up.
Sunrise, Florida, stand up. Retirees, stand up. It's time for the Stanley Cup to come to Florida.
Are you guys aware that there's actually no such thing as a Florida Panther? They do not exist.
Correct. Yes, I did know that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I don't have too
I
much
believe it.
else to add. Yep,
No, neither do I.
the Everglades filled with various abundant species. I'm pretty sure Florida is the only place in the world where crocodiles and alligators live in the same region. Um, but yeah, you put it pretty good, Dennis. I've got the Hurricanes. I've got the Knights. But I'm gonna ride with the Canes, baby. I said it. I said it last week. I said
Me
it
too.
last week.
Me too.
I don't want to see the expansion teams win Stanley Cups while my team, like the Red Wings, gets screwed in the NHL draft lottery every single year. And that'll segue me right into my next topic. Dennis, I'm sure you were keeping track of this very intently. The Connor Bedard sweepstakes. Dennis, is the NHL draft lottery rigged? Because I think it's rigged. The Chicago Blackhawks lose Patrick Kane and are immediately rewarded by jumping up a multitude of spots to get Connor Bedard.
Well, I don't have too many specific comments on that, but I definitely can go into the philosophical debate about the draft lottery as a whole concept. I've been debating that with people all week. It feels like, and so yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at all if it's rigged because I'm not going to call the system dumb because it serves a purpose. It serves a very specific purpose, and it's served a purpose to eliminate a problem within some of professional sports. However, it creates new problems that it's just imperfect.
Bob, I know you don't care too much for hockey, but I'll ask you this. Do you believe draft lotteries in general are rigged?
I can't believe that. No. If I wanna have any sense of faith and integrity in these leagues, I cannot believe that, Derek.
Oh no.
I cannot.
Dennis, were you going to say
I
something?
don't think. Yeah, I was just gonna say I don't think they're rigged. It's just ridiculous that the future of your franchise potentially comes down to the draw of a hat. Like
Correct.
literally, it comes down to something that has absolutely nothing to do with your team's actual ability, performance, or results.
And they rig it to save floundering original six franchises from becoming irrelevant. Just my tinfoil hat conspiracy, Bob. Speaking of lotteries, do you want to start with the NBA draft lottery, or do you want to start with the NBA playoffs? Where would you like to start?
Let's start with the lottery. The
Let's
play
start with
Yeah,
the lottery,
the
Bobby,
playoffs
Bob.
Bobby
haven't
doesn't want
been
to
too
talk about the
much.
NFL playoffs.
Let's start with the lottery, Bob. The San Antonio Spurs are the victors of the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. They were actually one of the. Were they one of the three teams
I think
with the
so.
equal odds? Yes. One of the three teams with equal odds of the worst record in the NBA, along with. Was it Houston or Charlotte? Who was the second team?
Houston, I think.
I think it was Houston as well. And then the third team was yours and mine and our Detroit Pistons, who somehow fell from worst case scenario, first to fifth, best case scenario, third to fifth, out of the top three completely, have no chance at any of Victor Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson, or Brandon Miller, and have effectively been screwed by the National Basketball Association Adam Silver can't even be bothered to come out to the lottery himself. He has his goofball minion deputy commissioner come out and do it for him. Screw that guy. The NBA draft lottery is rigged, Bob. Of that I am convinced. The Red Wings, it's whatever. If they don't want us to pick in the top 5, so be it. But for the Pistons to drop out of the top 3 entirely, with one of the youngest rosters in the NBA that clearly, without Cade Cunningham, was hamstrung to have a certain ceiling, and that ceiling was definitive worst team in the league by record. And we dropped out of the top 5, Bob. Disgusting.
You know, I'm really interested what the heck Troy Weaver is even thinking in Detroit, because there's no way you're going into you're planning for this. It's DEFCON city right now in the city of Detroit after this dropped. I mean, just disgusting that the San Antonio Spurs get to draft the 3 best center prospects in the last 30 years. David Robinson,
Correct.
Tim Duncan, and now what will presumably be Victor Wembanyama. And, it wasn't enough that we couldn't get Victor. We couldn't even get Scoot Henderson, who I was really excited about, or Brandon Miller, who, I mean, he had all the drama going on with him last season, but guess what? He didn't seem too fazed by anything. He just kept out there and dropping 40 points. So, very intriguing prospect as well. So, I mean,
now we don't even get the chance to choose, Bob.
No, we don't
even get the chance to choose.
We don't get anything. All we do is add another young player to the mix, probably another foreign prospect, if I had to guess, just another French guy that nobody knows. But you know what? I'm not dead on the Pistons. I like what we've got. I like a lot of the young talent that we have. We just need to come around. We just need a little coming around. We've had some injuries. We've been struck by the injury bug. But you know what? The future's bright in the city of Detroit. I think that this season will be a lot better than we were last year.
Well, I would sure hope
Yeah.
so. I mean, we can
No, you can't get much worse.
We can only get so much worse than
But you get what I'm
17
saying.
and 65. Yes, I do get what you're saying. My initial reaction, I think I put in the group chat, the Pistons are dead. I think my initial reaction was the Pistons are dead, the NBA is rigged, and the NBA is the worst of the 4 major sports leagues.
I believe something along the lines of "we've been jobbed" was also said.
Correct.
It is the worst of the 4 major sports leagues. Agree.
And I will stand by all 4 of those takes here today. I typed those things out in haste, in emotional capacity, and right now I'm going to stand by them. Screw the NBA, screw Adam Silver, screw LeBron James, and screw San Antonio, and screw Houston. If there was one team that, if it wasn't the Pistons, that I didn't want to see get the number 1 overall pick, it was Houston. Because Houston fans talk a lot of crap for not having seen an NBA Finals appearance since they've been alive. So screw Houston, screw Adam Silver, screw the NBA, and screw LeBron James. Thank you, America.
Wow, that was quite the speech. I need to get your guys' thoughts on something, because I just flipped over here on ESPN and I don't know. I mean, I watch a ton of college basketball, so I know a lot of these players, but I don't really know who's been talked about as top prospects in this draft. Number 6 overall, I'm seeing, according to ESPN, a name I'm very familiar with, Cam Whitmore, baby, the Villanova Wildcat. Could he fall to Detroit? Is Detroit going to go with Nova Nation? Is it possible?
I'll say this about Nova Nation. They do a good job at producing very quality NBA talent. Look no further than Jalen Brunson.
They do. Jalen Brunson.
And look no further than Dante DiVincenzo. One, a very strong role player. The other, top 10 point guard, would you say, in the league, Bob? Jalen Brunson?
I would.
So I personally, we've gone to the Villanova well before with Sadiq Bey. He was again strong role player. I would have no problem going to the well of Villanova Wildcats.
I just like to point out that you can only point towards the Villanova logo if you actually, done an ounce of work at the university.
Come
And
on. Oh,
and
come on. That is too much.
and actually spent more than a week consecutively in the city of Philadelphia. Uh,
Well, I've done both of those things, the second of which almost entirely with you with me in the city of Philadelphia.
Okay, how about
Number
two
one.
consecutive weeks? How about 2 consecutive weeks?
That's happened too. 2 consecutive
Okay.
weeks has happened as well. Last year,
Okay.
definitely.
Well,
Last year.
but,
Last
And
year.
as-
but we couldn't go a month, Dennis or Derek. We couldn't get a month.
And as far as the no ounce of work goes, I mean, I will refer you to my 108-page final thesis that I just submitted.
Has it been submitted, Dennis?
Yeah, well, it's technically still subject to edits, but it is basically submitted. And I was
So
going to
it's
tell you
not
guys off the
submitted.
pod, but
Tardy.
well, no, it's so I don't know when I actually officially submit it, but what's happened is I've got it approved by my advisor and sent to my committee.
Okay, well, that deserves celebratory
Which is good.
emoji in the top left deserves the hand clap emoji. Clap it up for Dennis. What? Less than a week out? A week or so out from graduating with your master's, Dennis.
Graduating from my master's will be Saturday afternoon. This
Can we
Saturday
get
afternoon.
can we get a round of applause for remote work?
Remote work. Thank you very
You
much.
can remote work. Yep,
Very
absolutely. Yes.
Very exciting stuff, Dennis. I'll allow
Thank
you to point to the Villanova V. I'll allow it, even if Bob may not. Even if Bob may not. I mean,
I do appreciate the comments on the pointing to the Villanova V though.
I mean, Bob, it takes a lot of work to do so little work to be able to get to the point where Dennis has gotten. I mean, I
I
commend
don't think that's
him.
actually the compliment that it kind of sounds like.
Perhaps not. Bob, now that we've gotten it off our chest about the draft lottery and how rigged it is and how the Pistons have been screwed yet
Yep.
again,
Correct.
the only team to ever drop out of the top four with the tied for third highest odds, Bob. The only team. Bob, are the Los Angeles Lakers dead?
No, we're not dead. We're not dead.
Bob, they've squandered
We're far from dead.
two 20-point performances from Austin Reeves, a 20-point performance from Rui Hachimura, and a 17-point performance from Rui Hachimura, and a 40-point performance from Anthony Davis.
Yeah, unfortunately, too bad we couldn't get 2 40-point performances from Anthony Davis because we'd have blown Denver out by 20 points tonight. Because talk about absent without, leave. None other than Anthony Davis, who I'm pretty sure shot like Bun City last time I looked. But anyway, no.
4 for 15, 1 of 3 from 3, 14 points.
Nah,
But 4 blocks.
Yeah, I mean, thank you on the defensive end, but we're going to need more than 4 for 15. But anyway, no, we're not dead. I kind of expected it to go 2 games in a row to Denver. Was hopeful that maybe we'd pick up 1, but given that they've been close games, I'm encouraged that we can win the 2 back at the Crypt. When we lose at the Crypt, I'll start being officially concerned, but I am not concerned as of yet.
Bob, they always say
the series
doesn't start until a road team wins a game.
Correct. It's correct.
If the Lakers go down 3-0, are the Lakers dead?
We're dead.
Okay. Bob, there's one other thing I wanted to get your thoughts on about the Lakers-Nuggets series thus far.
Yes.
LeBron James blew it tonight, Bob. Blew it. In spectacular fashion. Blows a wide open reverse dunk by fumbling the ball out of bounds. blows a somewhat contested layup in the clutch with a minute left, taking some of the most ill-advised threes of all time and going 0 for 6. And it is no wonder why Ray Allen saved his legacy against the San Antonio Spurs, because LeBron James wasn't hitting that shot. LeBron James was not hitting that shot. Bob, how much of the loss falls on LeBron James' shoulders for blowing layups and his ill-advised three-point attempts when he was borderline unstoppable from inside the paint, except for when he would stop himself by fumbling the ball out of bounds on wide open fast break layup dunks?
Derek, LeBron James does bear culpability. He's not without culpability in this defeat. However, I think I have to. It has to be acknowledged that. Yeah, I don't think we can expect LeBron to summons it up like he once could. And now he's making now there. I mean, there could be some ill-advised decision making, I'm sure, but you're right. He can get downhill with the best of them, but I'm pretty sure he knows he's not that great of a three-point shooter.
Yeah, he shoots them anyway.
But you know what? That's the thing with LeBron, like, right? He'll shoot 2 or 3 bad games in a row from 3. He'll come out in game 4 and he'll start 5 for 7 from 3.
Probably.
And then he'll come out in game 5 thinking that he's hot, and then he'll start 0 for 6 again. So,
He's currently 0 for 10 this series.
Yeah, not a great look in that department. But that being said, I think, you can't you got to rely on Anthony Davis for more than 14 points a game.
I mean, that's fair.
And while culpability is definitely falls on LeBron James' shoulders, at 38 years of age, he did lead the team in scoring tonight. So, I mean, let's turn it around. I would like to point out that I told Dennis before the game that
This is confirmed.
The key player to the series was going to be none other than Rui Hachimura. And if you look at the box score, player of the game today, probably for the Lakers, off the bench for sure, none other than old Rui Hachimura, who shot the lights out of the place. So shout out to Rui for a good performance, but we're going to need more of that, where that came from. I think that while we were lucky where we lost, it's going to be tough for us to be that inefficient again, and hopefully at home we'll be able to put everything together.
Bob, I'd like to read a few comments from Garbage Time Takes lead correspondent Skip Bayless.
Oh my gosh, here we go. What's LeBron doing?
First comment.
Quit shooting
Jamal Murray showed great clutch guts tonight, willing himself out of a nightmare night into one of the great fourth quarter performances in all caps ever.
Here comes the side shot at LeBron, I'm sure.
Second comment. LeBron James, no clutch gene. Third comment. LeBron James, triple jeopardy for the Lakers. He just won't stop in taking and missing threes, even though he's down to almost 20% for the playoffs. All-time pathetic. And number 4 comment, in all caps, I cannot wait for tomorrow's show. Hope my partner makes it in. And that was lead correspondent of Garbage Time Takes, Skip Bayless. Bob, your thoughts. Does LeBron James have no clutch gene? Ray Allen would say yes, I believe.
The funny thing about that is that, everybody forgets that was only game 6.
It was only game 6.
There was another game that had to be played.
That is correct.
And I would encourage everybody to go look up LeBron's numbers in that final game of the series. But I digress. Just standard stuff from Skip Bayless. You can copy and paste the same stuff every single game with Skip Bayless. I mean,
Bob, is it
there's a
not
very,
true that LeBron James is shooting 20% from three
I
through the
mean,
playoffs and is 0 for 10 this series?
he's not been good from three. I mean, that much is very much true.
Is it true that it's an all-time pathetic performance from three
I
from
mean,
one of the greatest players of all time?
it might be all-time pathetic performance, but from three, but at the same time, this is the same Skip Bayless who's been pulling for every team under the sun this season, and now has finally landed on the Denver Nuggets are now his team. So,
Well, can you blame him, Bob? I mean, Skip, like myself, are perpetual LeBron James haters to our core. So can you blame him?
I mean, yeah, I can blame him because Skip Bayless has no grounds to hate on especially because Skip Bayless literally made a career out of hating on LeBron James. Literally made. I mean, Skip was a talented journalist beforehand, but literally did nothing but boost his career on the back of hating on LeBron James and being brought in to be a LeBron James hater. So, if anything, he should be thanking LeBron for all the content that he's made, which has allowed him to make bank.
Okay. Dennis, do you have any thoughts
Yes, sir.
on flop queen LeBron James?
No, I'm not going to get in the middle of this one. I think Bobby made a comment about not getting in the middle of something earlier, and I'm going to, retain that right
Okay.
here.
I just know you had very strong thoughts when LeBron James went full crybaby 3-year-old toddler tantrum mode earlier this season against the Boston Celtics.
Correct. And I stand by those thoughts. Go check out that episode. I stand by all of those thoughts, but that was
Malpractice by the refs.
well, no. Well, we had the discussion. Yes, it was malpractice, but I will hold those thoughts for any player in any league at any time who reacts in that.
Fair point. Bob, speaking of the Celtics, the Miami Heat go to the Boston Garden and take game one. Jimmy Butler is Jimmy Butler. He gets stronger with each game of the playoffs. 123 to 116. 35 points from Jimmy Butler, Bob. Jason Tatum answered with 30 of his own, but it wasn't enough. Bob, are the Miami Heat a serious threat to take this series? Or is game one more of an outlier than what's to be expected?
They should not be a serious threat, but they are a serious threat. And that becomes not from my overwhelming belief in Miami, but my underwhelming belief in the Boston Celtics. I mean, you want to talk about a team that lacks a clutch gene, if to quote the great Skip Bayless. I would
I
say
don't
it
know.
would be
Jason Tatum in game 6 and game 7 was one of the most clutch playoff performances we've seen.
I would concur with that, but I would also encourage you to go look back and look at some of the earlier games where he was, MIA.
Yeah, but he did it when it counts. In game 6 and I mean, backs against the wall, death being pointed at the earth, and Jason Tatum came through, took him from down 3-2 to winning the series. Fourth quarter performances, a 50-point performance in game 6, which we didn't talk about because we hadn't had the pod yet. 50-point performance in game 6. Some are saying Mickey Mouse stat padded game 6 performance because they were blowing out the Sixers by so much. But then game 7, one of the worst game 7 performances in recent NBA history. And then in the fourth quarter, absolutely took over. And when he said after game 6, humbly, I am the best player, or one of the best players in the NBA. In Game 7, fourth quarter, he proved it.
Yeah, he had a couple of great games. No doubt about that. But respectfully, the 76ers collapsing was just about the most predictable thing that could have happened in the entire NBA playoffs. Because we've seen this song and dance like 3 times with the same teams. So I don't know really why people expect it any differently. But all I know is that if the Boston Celtics ever got to face the Los Angeles Lakers, I would not be concerned.
I think you've probably got a point there. Yeah, the Celtics are a very interesting team. I think the thing that I trust the least about the Celtics, Bob, is the coaching. What's his name? Joe? Is it Joe Mazzulla?
Yeah, Joe
I think
Mazzulla.
it's Joe Mazzulla. Joe Mazzulla hand gifted one of the best rosters in the NBA after Ime Udoka was unceremoniously dismissed from the team due to personal life antics. And for one, I think Joe Mazzulla tries to be too smart. Much has been made of his refusal to call timeouts because he wants to save them. And then instead of using them at the end of games, he still saves them, Bob. You can't take timeouts with you to the locker room. They don't do anything for you. And yet, game in and game out, he saves timeouts for no reason. I saw a stat, don't remember who it was from, but it was something along the lines of the Miami Heat scored 45 points in the third quarter. Joe Mazzulla did not take a single timeout. The Celtics got off to a 7-0 run in the fourth quarter, and Eric Spoelstra immediately took a timeout. It was just one of those things where, for whatever reason, when you go back to Game 4, Game 5, Philadelphia, I don't remember which game it was, overtime, last second play, the Celtics had a chance to win. Marcus Smart gets the 3 off, makes it, but it was a half second too late. Joe Mazzulla had 2 timeouts in the overtime period, used none of them. I don't know if Bob went to go get a drink of water. Oh, he's back.
No, I'm still here.
Nope, he's back. So yeah, and his late game, he admitted it after game 1 or game 2 of the Eastern semis, or sometime even in round 1 it might have been. He lacks confidence in his end of game play drawing ability, so just prefers to let the players do it. How can you be a head coach and not have any more end of game plays to run? I don't understand that. So I think ultimately what could be their downfall is less about the players and more about the coaching, because top to bottom, the Celtics roster clears Miami's. And for as great as Jimmy Butler is, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Al Horford should be able to beat Jimmy Butler, 40-year-old Kevin Love, Bam Adebayo, and whoever else the Heat throw out there. But yeah, that's what I got there. Anything else to add?
I would say that you're pretty spot on with that assessment. I would think. I don't know. I just hope that both these series don't end up in like I hope they go the distance. I would really like to see some series go the distance.
Dennis, I know don't really have too much to add, but maybe with the 4 teams left, the Heat, the Celtics, the Lakers, and the Nuggets, if you wanted to throw out any predictions out there.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I'm fading a little bit. I would say before tonight, I liked the Lake Show a lot, and I still think that there's a possibility there, but um, I would probably lean with Denver, and then man, that the Heat Celtics series is really tough because it feels like, I mean, just like you alluded to, top to bottom, that Boston roster is so much better. But then you just have a team that's playing really, really well right now, and Jimmy Butler playing really well, and you pointed out some of the coaching flaws on the Boston side of things, so that kind of
And Eric
seemingly
Spoelstra, one
evens
of the
things out.
greatest coaches of our generation.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. And I'm gonna I'll stay chalk though. I'll go with Boston.
Okay. Bob, a couple other things to note about the NBA before we move on. Speaking of Eric Spoelstra, Bob, are you aware that Eric Spoelstra has never won NBA Coach of the Year?
I was not aware of that.
Yeah,
That actually doesn't surprise me.
he's never won Coach of the Year. You're right. It's not all that surprising, but at the same time, I mean, he was the coach when LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade were running the East. My guess is people thought
That
he
worked
had it
against
too
him.
easy.
Yeah.
He had it too easy. But since then, Mike Budenholzer has won Coach of the Year, been fired. Nick Nurse has won Coach of the Year, been fired.
It's a curse.
Um, who else won Coach of the Year and got fired? There's one more.
Dwayne Casey.
Did Dwayne Casey win Coach of the Year?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dwayne Casey, Coach of the Year, been fired. And I don't know if Doc Rivers won Coach of the Year since Eric Spoelstra's LeBron James years, but it doesn't matter. He's out too. So yeah, Eric Spoelstra, somehow unheralded, sort of under the radar, but very clearly one of the top minds in the NBA. And it's too bad he's not on the market for the Pistons. Oh, Monty Williams. That was the other one I wanted. Monty Williams, Coach of the Year, recently fired. And speaking of Monty Williams, Bob, and this will be the last thing, Dennis, I promise, about the NBA. The Detroit Pistons are in a coaching search, Bob. The Detroit Pistons are in a coaching search. And everything I've seen on Twitter has said the Detroit Pistons are zeroing in on Kevin Ollie, Bob. Kevin Ollie. Overtime elite coach and head coach of one of the most fraudulent NCAA champions of all time, the UConn Huskies. The team itself was not fraudulent, but Kevin Ollie winning an NCAA championship, fraud. Bob, the Pistons are dead if they hire Kevin Ollie over Monty Williams. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I would think so because Monty Williams is just such a enticing candidate. I would love to have Monty in Detroit. Don't really know much about Ali, but
Bob, how could Matt Ishbia, Michigan State legend, billionaire, fire Monty Williams like that?
wasn't his guy, Derek. Wasn't his guy.
I guess not. Bob, if we don't get Monty Williams, I'll be so sad.
Well,
I really will. He's right there.
Is Ime available? Wait a minute. He's been hired, hasn't he?
Ime's in Houston, which is a darn shame. It's a darn shame Ime went to Houston. I was very upset.
That's a better fit for him.
I guess we won't get too much into it. I don't want Dennis to have to remain quiet any longer. I don't have anything else. We can talk a little MLB. Really with the MLB, it's sort of the same old. We'll have plenty of time once we get into June, July, August, once all the other sports are done. And baseball is king to really get into it. Not too much has changed since last week that I'm aware of. The Pirates still spiraling, although they were able to recover a little bit against the Tigers. The Cubs, garbage. The Reds, still above the Cardinals for now. The Dodgers have reestablished dominance at the top of the NL West. And really, there aren't many other stories outside of that. Rays are still good. Jays are still good. Braves are still good. The Mets scuffling is another big story. Mets are gonna Met. They just can't seem to get out of their own way. Justin Verlander's been tagged up a little bit since his return from injury. Actually got booed, I'm pretty sure, in his home start for the Mets. And they're really bad right now. But other than that, I don't have anything to add if you guys don't.
I don't have too much. I was just gonna basically the same stuff that you pointed out. I would say that the Reds have caught the Cubs, but it's really the opposite way around. Uh, is what it feels like because we haven't. I just looked into this a little bit. We haven't swept a series or been swept since mid-April. That's 6 straight series in which have either gone 2-1 or 1-2 in our favor or against. It's mediocre. I mean, lost the series to the White Sox, took the series with the Mets, took the series with the Marlins, and then lost the series to the Rockies, which was dumb. And now we have kind of it's a long summer. The Reds speaking, we have a kind of a critical stretch in my mind. We have the Yanks in town for 3 this weekend, which is interesting. And then it goes 4 with the Cardinals, 3 at Wrigley Field. So that will be a fun little stretch of 9-10 games there that could really put us out of things for rather quickly, which is what I'm thinking might happen, but hopefully not. I don't have too much else.
Bob, anything else to add? The Eduardo Rodriguez train came to a bit of a screeching halt. It was a matter of time. It was a matter of time for Erod.
Yeah, he got roughed up. Potentially more sad than Erod was the fact that the Tigers made Rich Hill look like a Cy Young candidate. Gross
I've
and
seen that
disgusting.
before.
But yeah, not too much to talk about with the MLB.
Yeah, pretty much same old, same old. Without further ado, then, winners, losers, right bench ballers, which I won't forget this week. Dennis, give us your winner.
Yeah, I'll start it out. I have elected to go into the wonderful world of golf. I've selected none other than the Australian, Jason Day. I don't know if you guys saw this, and won last week at the Byron Nelson for the first time on PGA Tour since May 6th of 2018. That was at the Wells Fargo. So it's been almost exactly a 5-year drought for Mr. Jason Day, and he's finally snapped it. One of the better players sort of that 2013 to 2017-18 era, and has not done much at all. Some injury things and whatnot, but he's had a good season back on top. And he kind of had a rough showing today at the first day of the PGA up in Rochester, but coming off a win, that's to be expected.
Speaking of Dennis, I wanted to give you a little bit of chance, if you were prepared to expound upon the PGA Championship, another tournament in which live golfers are able to participate in.
Yes, sir.
We have the Ryder Cup coming up in the not so distant future. And so we'll see if any of these performances from guys like Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, are enough to, maybe for the sake of the country, for Team USA in the Ryder Cup, if they perform well, perhaps they'll be considered if Team USA is truly serious about winning. Early storylines, Dennis. Bryson DeChambeau is back, -4 in the first round. Play was suspended
Okay.
earlier before the rounds finished, but he finished his round. Currently second in the leaderboard at 4 under. Scotty Scheffler and Dustin Johnson, 2 of the more notable names, tied for third at 3 under. Victor Hovland tied at 6 at 2 under. And a lot of the big names, Dennis, currently absent from the top 10. And one Eric Cole, Dennis, currently at the top of the leaderboard at 5 under through only 14 holes out at Oak Hill Golf Course. Dennis, break down the PGA Championship for us.
Yeah, I mean, you hit on a lot of the key points, right? There are a couple of the live guys up there near the top right now, Bryson and DJ, which is not surprising based on everything that I've heard about this course. It favors the long hitters. It really is an incredibly difficult golf course, even at the professional level, and you kind of have to bomb it to be able to stay in contention. Bryson and DJ both players that have been notoriously associated with being able to hit the ball far off the tee. So, it's not incredibly surprising to see them near the top. Scotty Scheffler is just, his game is so well rounded all the way around. There's no reason to think he's not going to be the top at any golf course on any given week. A little surprising not to see some of the other names up there at this point, but it's only Thursday and the whole round isn't even done yet because of that frost this morning. So, there's lots of time for things to turn around. I heard a pretty interesting on-course interview, which is a cool thing that they're doing now at some of these events with Tony Finau, as he was playing his round today, kind of walking between shots, and he was talking about, just how just the relaxed feeling and knowing that he can come out tomorrow, shoot a good number and move on to the weekend and anything can happen. So a lot of golf to be played up there this weekend. I will be keeping a close eye on it. You got a couple of live guys in the mix. But definitely look out for some of those longer hitters. The conditions out there are really rough. So in addition to just being a really long course, take a look at some of these bunkers when you get the chance. These bunkers are like, I mean,
Nasty.
they're gonna have to hit sideways out of some of these things around the green. I mean, it is tough. They're truly traps, and hazards in their own right this week, which always makes a little more interesting when you kind of have to see some of these guys get creative. And I like that aspect of this particular event this year.
Yeah, definitely for those of us out there that root for the course. The course
The
is
course is going to
definitely
win this week. Yes,
the course is
correct.
definitely going to win. Bob, I have unfortunate news for you. Sung Yim, 10 over, tied for 151st out of a 156 man field.
Oh my gosh, I was going to mention this. I don't know if it falls in winners or losers or whatever, but I was literally watching 5-6 hours ago before we hopped on to record this podcast, and Tom Kim at the end of the broadcast, I'm sure this video will go around at some point, was like into like a marshland and basically had like mud up to like above his belt and like on his shirt, like coated in mud, made bogey. Tom Kim.
Wow. Tom Kim, legend.
I mean, just
Bob,
legend going for it. Play it where it lies.
that's right. Bob, a strong proponent of the play it where it lies philosophy. Bob, who's your winner?
French basketball fans are my winner, Derek, because not only do they get renewed excitement with the draft lottery that Victor going to be drafted, but the fact that he's going to be going to the Spurs. I mean, a hotbed of French basketball talent in the past. I mean, with the likes of none other than Tony Parker and Boris Diaw, to name two, representing the Spurs for a long time. I know that I think Victor mentioned that much of his countrymen had said that they wanted him to go to the Spurs. So, very, very exciting stuff for French basketball at a time like this.
Yeah, my winner of the week, we've touched on it quite a bit over this podcast. Rigging lotteries. I don't need to say too much more, take up too much more time on that. But congratulations to Gary Bettman and Adam Silver for rigging the lottery to screw the Detroit Pistons. Dennis, you're a loser.
Yeah, I kind of didn't have anything super great for this one this week, but I got a little generic and said, quote unquote, favorites to win the Stanley Cup. We touched on that a little bit too, but obviously Boston went down early, Colorado was down, and then this last week we had Florida beat Toronto, who had become the favorite starting in the second round. So nobody who is favored entering a round ends up doing anything and just immediately gets eliminated.
Correct. Bob, you're a loser.
A little bit of a older one from the begin, like towards the end of the last week, but I was going to go with JaMychal Green as my loser. If you remember the ending of the Lakers-Warriors series, right before it ended, actually, JaMychal put out on his Instagram live basically the clip of LeBron saying, we don't teach flopping. None of my teams have been about flopping, whatever. JaMychal Green then proceeded to reposted that story, except he edited it on a cap on top of LeBron James's head. essentially calling him a cap artist when JaMychal Green basically didn't play at all, and then proceeded to promptly get eliminated from the playoffs. Uh, there was a lot of talk made. LeBron had a big game in that game right after that. There was a lot of talk being made about how, you saw what happened when you poked the bear. If you were Memphis, but at least Dylan Brooks played, JaMychal Green doesn't even play, and now he's out here poking the bear, and now the Warriors are going home.
I will say this. LeBron James is one of the king of flops. So to say that is just an unequivocal lie, unequivocal falsitude for LeBron James to say they don't teach flopping. He was flopping all over the court tonight. Call him Fish James with how much flopping he does. My loser of the week. Back at it again. This may be, I think this individual is a 2-time loser of the week. Ja Morant. Back in the spotlight for flashing a gun on Instagram Live. He just can't get out of his own way. Even his homie even tried to protect him. He saw the gun in the background, immediately turned the comments off, turned the camera to his leg, and before panning back up to him and his friends, you could get the sense that he was telling Ja, like, put your gun away, bozo. But it was too late. It was too late. And the news around the league is that they're expecting a lengthy suspension for Ja Morant. I don't know if that'll be imposed by the Grizzlies, the NBA, conjunction, both. But his signature Nike shoe has been dropped. They've taken it down from the website, and it was this close to the bag, and where most people try to make it out of the hood and into professional sports, he made it out of professional sports and into the hood. So congratulations, Sean Morant, for that. But setting aside legality, role models, all that stuff, if your corporation tells you not to do something and you do it, and it's a bad look for said corporation, don't be surprised when the consequences come down on you. Any honorable mention, winners or losers from you guys? Because I got a loser.
I do not have anything.
Send it, Derek.
My honorable mention for losing, Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers, 6-10 all time in Game 7s. 10 losses in Game 7s, beats the second place coach by 5 losses. 5 losses. He is also 14-25 lifetime. Nope. 16-33 lifetime in playoff clinching scenarios. 16-33. 67% of the time when Doc Rivers teams have a chance to clinch a series, they lose. All-time loser Doc Rivers. All-time honorable mention loser Joel Embiid for getting completely outplayed, outclassed. Mark Jackson looking more and more like a stupid, bumbling idiot every single game that Nikola Jokic drops triple doubles by halftime. And James Harden, Bob, we said it was going to happen. He was going to start the season or start the series strong, and then down the stretch was going to fade and ultimately be useless. And unfortunately, in Game 7, he was useless. But yeah, Doc Rivers, I don't know how you come back from that. I don't know how you come back from having the Celtics on the ropes, having a game at home to clinch, and dropping both that one and Game 7.
It's kind of a repeating theme with Doc, as you said. You can make an argument how much of it was his fault or not, considering that Joel Embiid and James Harden both kind of went MIA on him down the stretch. But it is his MO. He's running out of teams to go to at this point. It feels like he's bounced around in the league quite a bit now after the stint with the Clippers. But yeah, great loser of the week.
Does he just have the stink, Bob? Is he just a guy that's just got loser stink on him?
It feels like it when it counts, yeah.
Yeah. to be determined, I guess. But yeah, what like you said earlier in our brief recap, one of the most predictable outcomes of all time, the Sixers choking in Game 7. Right bench ballers, Dennis, we'll swing it back to you.
Yeah, I have two actually because I don't know if my first one's going to get stolen or not. So I will actually defer. I'll go last.
Okay. Okay, Bob, you're right bench baller then.
My red bench baller is going to be none other than Yenier Cano from the Baltimore Orioles, relief pitcher. Reason I bring up this guy, not even the closer, just a reliever. Guy has gone 21 and 2/3 innings of work so far this season, with exactly 0 earned runs in his appearances, 8 holds and 3 saves. When Felix Bautista needs an off day, our man comes in, gaining a lot of notoriety around the league because he kind of, it didn't really seem like he was going to have much of a career. He didn't even make the Orioles opening day roster this season, I don't believe. And since they brought him in, has just been shredding and slicing and dicing the opposition. .18 whip this season. I mean, talk about
Sounds like
shutting the
perfect
door.
right bench baller right there. Yeah.
Talk about shutting the door. The reason I've been taking note is because he's been brought up by a lot of fantasy baseball analysts, actually. And so, shout out to my man, Yenier Cano. I hope I'm saying that correctly.
I've been tracking him for 3 months. If we were in a saves holds league, I would have had him on my roster weeks ago. But Felix Bautista is the clear workhorse there. And yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame we don't have holds as a category in our league. My right bench baller, since Dennis has graciously agreed to go last, I've got a couple of them as well. And there's one guy I really want to say. And one guy, I'll just do it. Jake Fraley, Dennis. Jake Fraley is my right bench baller. 412 average over the last week, 3 homers, 10 RBIs, 7 hits, 2 walks, and a 1.474 on base plus slugging percentage. A guy who's battled injuries quite often during his Reds tenure, finally healthy and doing some damage in the lineup, Dennis.
Rake Fraley, Jake the Rake, however you want to say it, however you want to cut it. That's a great one. The ironic thing is you selected a Cincinnati Red. I selected a Chicago Cub. That would be none other than Christopher Morel. And that is why I decided to go last because I had a backup for that. But Christopher Morel, 8 games since his call up, he has hits in all of them. He's batting .371 with 4 homers and 9 RBIs for the Man of Faith fantasy baseball team. Thank you very much, everyone else. Dude is absolutely balling out so far.
Dennis, since you had a couple, and I had a couple, we can do our honorable mention right bench ballers. Who was your backup option?
Yeah, I did some digging because I didn't know what else to do. And I came up with a right bench baller, which, statistics a little shaky from the world of hockey. I selected a Florida Panther, Nick Cousins, who has been averaging about 11 minutes of ice time per game this entire season. He was 12th in total team scoring over the regular season, but he is the one who made the winning goal that put away the Toronto Maple Leafs last week. And I believe that was in overtime. He scored the winning goal for the Florida Panthers in his limited opportunity. So that was going to be my right bench baller.
I think that is Dennis, that is
A deep dive.
I mean, that is the core principle of right bench baller. That Nick Cousins, he is the true epitome of right bench baller. So that's a very good one. My other backup was Casey Schmidt, San Francisco Giants rookie, recently called up. He started his tenure batting .458 with 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 11 hits, and a 1.291 OPS to start his major league tenure with the Giants. Bob, I take it you have no honorable mentions.
No honorable
So
mentions, but a garbage time takes your money for you.
I mean, we love it. I actually don't have the results for the Celtics Sixers game that we chose. So I'm going to have to do that quick.
Would you like me to read out the matchup of the week, Derek?
Give me 1 second. And if you wouldn't mind stalling some way, maybe try and hype this one up.
Well, I actually can hype this one up a little bit because it's going to be our first ever Garbage Time Takes Your Money from the NHL realm, because you and Dennis have really been getting into it, and I figured, you know what?
Yes,
There's
sir.
only a couple series left. We might as well try to fire our bets in while we've got the opportunity.
Boys, I can stall too. It's in the third overtime. The Panthers and the Hurricanes game 1 is now 12 minutes and 19 seconds left in the third overtime. Wow.
I've
That's
got
a
it up
stall
on
for
the
you.
second screen as well.
Unbelievable.
So I've got the results. The game we took was Celtics Sixers, game 7. The reason I wanted to make sure whether it was game 6 or game 7. Game 6 was actually that Thursday of the pod. So game 7, the final score was 112-88, meaning we had a perfect even 200 for the game score. Bob, me and you took the Celtics and the over, so we went 1 for 2. Boston spread was 7.5 to win that one. Dennis, you took the Sixers and the under, so you also go 1 for 2 by nailing the under of 203. Bob, if the 76ers weren't inept at scoring, we would have went 2 for 2. But what can you do? A perfect 500 for the boys last week. Bob, what do you got for us?
It's going to be the Dallas Stars at the Vegas Golden Knights, Derek. We're going there for game 1. It's got to be done. We're doing a money line pick. Current favorite is Vegas at minus 126, but basically a toss-up game. The over-under is 5.5 goals.
I can start off on this one. I think that at Vegas, the way that they've been playing, I also just don't like Dallas in any of its sports franchises in any fashion. I will take the Golden Knights here in game 1 in Vegas, and then I'm also going to take the under. I don't have the statistics to back this up. I feel like Dallas has played a lot of low-scoring games. Like I said, I don't have any numbers to run at you, but it feels like Dallas is always involved in these rather low-scoring games. And so for that reason, I will lean on the under. Also, the Vegas scored like 5 goals to put away the Oilers the other night. And so, maybe they're out of scoring.
You took the Stars and the under, Dennis. Sorry, I was
I did take
something.
No, I took the Knights in the under. The Knights.
The Knights in the under. Oh, that's right. You said you hate me and you are opposite. You hate Dallas sports teams, and I don't like the expansion teams. Yeah, game 1 on the road, always a tough one. I'm not sure if there's a statistic as to how many times that team wins. The Stars, 4 goals, 4 goals, 2 goals, 6 goals, 5 goals, 3 goals, 2 goals. Round that out to an even 3-ish goals.
Maybe I was wrong then. Maybe I should go under or over.
Maybe you should, but perhaps I'll let you if you want to, or you can stick with your gut. I'll take Dallas in the over. Why not? Why not take the team coming off a thrilling series with the Seattle Kraken, riding some hot momentum? So I'll take Dallas in the over.
I gotta stick with my initial gut. That's all I gotta say. I'll stick with the under. Yeah, I don't gotta go changing my mind here, and then it's gonna go under. So,
Bob, who you got?
And I will take the Golden Knights and the over, because if anyone knows anything about me, I'm a big fan of the empty net, and when there's an empty net, that means goals are scored. So let's get it done.
All right.
And let's take it away with the socials.
Yep, let's take it away with the socials. The Hurricanes and the Panthers. We are 10 minutes deep into the third overtime. They have played 50 extra minutes of hockey, and it's only game 1.
They're gonna delay that next game, man. These guys are gonna be absolutely. This is brutal.
They're showing the stands. We have dudes yawning in the stands. We have little kids practically falling asleep. I mean, just disastrous scenes here in the third overtime period. Bob, go ahead and take it away with the socials.
At Garb Time Takes on Twitter, at Garbage Time Takes on Instagram. You can find the link to our website in the description of this video below. And also feel free to check out the Garbage Time Debates episode 3 with Dennis and I talking about which current MLB players should be in the Hall of Fame. And please, please, please feel free to let us know in the comment section of either this video or that video what other videos you'd like to see us do Garbage Time Takes debates on, because those are just, fun little shorter videos that a little bit easier for us to throw together. So, maybe if we get some suggestions, we'll throw a few more of those out there as well. And with that, thank you all very, very much.
Yeah, I just want to add one more thing because I forgot to earlier. Screw the Philadelphia 76ers. I said this in the group chat, and I can't believe I almost forgot to say it on the pod. Because of the Philadelphia 76ers, the NBA draft lottery is the way it is, because they tanked for years, Sam Hinkie, with the process, and they screwed it up. They couldn't even do the process right. Drafting Michael Carter-Williams, bust. Drafting Nerlens Noel, bust. Drafting Ben Simmons, bust. Drafting
Jaleel Okafor.
Jaleel Okafor, bust. Drafting Markelle Fultz, bust. All they did was draft a bunch of busts and screw up the draft lottery for teams like the Detroit Pistons, who actually suck and are tanking out of necessity because they didn't have a roster to compete with in the first place. So yeah, screw Philadelphia. That's another reason why I despise the 76ers, is because of them. The draft lottery is the way it is, and all it's done is cause pain for Detroit Pistons fans, except the one time we got Cade Cunningham. But other than that, it's only screwed us. And so yeah, screw the 76ers. I'm glad your pathetic loser poverty franchise continues to blow games in spectacular fashion. Never forget Kawhi Leonard's shot. Other than that, thanks again, Bob. Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate the support. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we post new debates episodes, other content, the podcast. Every Friday morning it goes up. Every Friday morning, early in the morning, Bob renders the video. We appreciate all the support. Check us out next week for the next episode of Garbage Time Takes. Without further ado, in 3.
1. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.